Hello, friends. I want to play a game. Today is actually going to be a review of my franchise. I hope that you've been enjoying the Halloween special so far, and will continue to do so with Aaron here as you watch the next review. If you decide, watch or skip, make your choice. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Hey guys, it's Aaron back with another review for you, as my friend Jigsaw said. Today is day 15 of my Halloween review, and today I'm going to be doing the film Saw, the original, the one that started the franchise. So I've got my notes, let's dive right in. So, Saw, released October 29th of 2004. And don't forget, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Directed by James Wan, screenplay by Lee Whannell, and this was the beginning of their long partnership. They've pretty much been doing stuff together since 2004. So, starring Carrie Elways, Danny Glover, Monica Potter, Michael Emerson, Ken Leung, Tobin Bell, Lee Whannell, and Shawnee Smith. The plot of this film is basically that two men wake up chained in a bathroom and have to find out why that they are there in order to get out, and they are on a time limit, and if not, they will die. So, well, I'm sorry, they'll be locked in there forever. So, originally, I remember seeing a thing on this, and it was I remember that Lee Whannell and James Wan were talking about it, and I'm pretty sure that they made a short film. I'd have to double check. I should have looked that up. I remember seeing like a documentary or like a behind the scenes, maybe even of Saw, of where they had the short film idea, and then it became what we know and love today as Saw. And you know it's cool because the it still feels like a very personal, small, tight knit kind of thing. The budget was actually only $700,000, and even for 2004, that was unheard of. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that like if probably me if I was doing my first kind of not student film, but like a good film, that's like a budget that would probably cost me to do, or somebody that isn't in the industry. So $700,000 is dirt cheap, like I said. And but and actually the only set they even had to build for the film was the bathroom set. The rest of it was just shot on location and wherever they were, and as you can see, most of it's just kind of like hotel rooms and whatnot. But anyway, I thought that was pretty awesome. I love when films are able to do that small of a scale and make such a good product out of it. But so anyway, so like I said, they wake up chained in the bathroom, and my first thought was, and I've seen this film before, but I was watching it, and with more note taking in mind. And my first thought was, oh my god, they woke up in a gas station bathroom. That thing is filthy. I don't remember where they're exactly at, but my god, that is a bad bathroom to wake up or to be in. Period. It's one of those things you get in and you feel like you have to take a shower or something. But so their little like kind of Gordon and Lee Whannell's character, they're kind of back and forth, really reminds me of how if my brother and I woke up in that, I feel like that'd be us. We'd be fighting like about every stupid thing, and that's exactly what is going on, because he's all Carrie Elways is all calm, and Lee Whannell is like freaking out every second, and that would be Matthias and I. 100%. I'd be freaking out, and he'd be like, "Oh," and I'd say something, whatever, and he'd have some thought out, smart, truly good idea, and I'd be like, well, shut up, because blah 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 blah. Anyway, you know, the one thing that I noticed, because this is really before how I said he didn't really want to do a torture porn thing. This is before Saw really, branched out and did that. But I know you're as messed up as I am. When you first watched this film, we all wanted to see that reverse bear trap in action, with just whatever. But like I said, we for sure wanted. I know we did. We all did. So it's anyway. So Jigsaw, the killer that Danny Glover's character has been looking into for a while. Dr. Gordon says he knows him, or he at least knows of him and everything, and so he ends up kidnapping Elway's wife and daughter. The wife's played by Monica Potter, and they. So they're kidnapped and everything. And here's the deal. I understand that it's a very traumatic situation they're in, and I get it, especially for a young kid. I think she's supposed to be probably like 7 or 8. I mean, she's a young girl, but I don't think this is where I would go on a production level and like a writing level maybe, because I don't think the little girl was given much direction, because she literally just keeps saying, "Mommy, I'm scared," like, "Mommy, help." And I'm like, in a real life situation, that probably would happen, and you wouldn't, and it'd be horrible, and you wouldn't think about it. But in a movie, I don't need that in my film. So I'm like watching it, and I'm like, okay, I get that she's scared, I get she's nervous, but let's calm down a little. And I just think that was a little bad directing on that part. I don't really know. Maybe it was to make it more realistic, but there's a fine line, you know what I mean? Because there's moments in film where, even though I do like them to be realistic, I don't want them to be so realistic to the point where it does that and it turns me off of the moment of what's happening, because it's very, anyway. But yeah, so I don't mind. And the other thing is I don't mind the cop cliches. Um, that they had, because that's one thing that doesn't bother me that I think people do overuse in films, like as opposed to like the girl freaking out about everything. I think that's overused and it bothers the hell out of me. But one thing that, they is the, at least in this film, Danny Glover, he's overworked, underpaid, but he's a workaholic, and he's just ignored. He doesn't have a life because his life's the job. I actually didn't mind that with him, because it showed a little character development in not like the best way possible, because it is a cliche nonetheless, but it's one that I don't mind if it's done right, or at the very least not done annoyingly. Like, he's not walking around and yelling at everybody and like smoking cigarettes and drinking all the time. He's just tired and he's overworked, so it's fine in this film. But it can be annoying, but this one's fine. Danny Glover did fine with it. So whenever he's watching the monitor, he's watching camera footage of where he thinks is going on, and he's like, "Oh crap, I know where this is." So they go and they hunt down Jigsaw and everything, and Danny Glover decides, instead of saving the person's life that is in this trap that Jigsaw has made, he's going to see who the killer is first. And by that, basically, he is going to wait for the killer to come back in and do whatever they're going to. Because here's the thing, the killer could come back in and just, instantly right away. Danny Glover doesn't know what's going to happen. But so instead of doing that, he waits for he waits for the killer, and he's like, let's see what's going on. Well, guess freaking what? And he gets his partner killed by doing that. And then guess what else also happens? That was, stupid in itself, by getting your partner killed. And then he goes on the way to capture the freaking Jigsaw killer, because he's down on his hands and knees like this. He turns around and gets his throat cut. Stupid. So there's moments that I just don't, like, it just happens. And I'm like, come on, Murtaugh. Gosh. Ugh. Sorry. It's so dumb when people do that in movies. And here's the thing about it: you can write better than those types of cliches. Those are the kind of cliches that I don't like. If I know someone's gonna die, it's one thing. But if I find out that somebody's gonna die in like a stupid way, okay. But really, like I said, those are the kind of cliches that just piss me off, and I don't understand why they do that, and I don't know. But anyway, so back to the basement when they're in there. Jigsaw gives them a little present of a tape recorder and cigarettes, and Lee Whannell's character is like, "Oh, dude, cigarettes right here," and Cary Elwes is like, "You're really gonna smoke something that was in this room?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, Me too, brother. Me too. I I would light that up so fast. Oh man. I mean, I guess you just gotta, you know, I not anymore, but when I smoked, and I still, I think even if I, me not smoking, if that happened to me, I'd probably light one up. I mean, I just must be a smoker thing, but I 100%. It's like, yep, I'm gonna light that up and smoke. I don't even care. Um, but it, then he plays the tape and he does find out that cigarettes are harmless. But regardless, it's funny. Uh, but yeah, so when they're talking later, whenever they find out who each other are, um, he's like, Adam, Lee Whannell's character is all like, oh yeah, I went back to my shithole motel. Why does everyone always act like that? In every film ever that's ever been a thing, everybody has such a crappy motel. It's always like, oh yeah, this motel's a shithole, or like, oh man, my blah blah blah. And don't get me wrong, I understand that, that I don't know where this is based. Nobody does, but I mean, like in New York and things like, I understand things are very, very expensive, and even for like a decent motel, you're paying top dollar. So I understand that a lot of typical, people like myself and you and whoever, it's very, it's not celebrity status. So yeah, you probably are going to get paid shittos, but it's just kind of like, I guess once again, in a film, it's a fantasy. I'm trying to get away from my real world. And even though I do like the realism of things from time to time, I guess that's just a nitpick of mine. It doesn't ruin it or anything, but it's just kind of like I get it. It's a shithole motel. But um, I just don't understand why everyone always says that in film. It's always like that. So there was, yeah, there's this one line, and I wrote it down so I could read it. When we find out that Lee Whannell's character is photographing Carrie Elways and spying on him, and he's like, Carrie Elways all like, oh, you just gonna judge me? And he's like, dude, I don't care if you covered yourself in peanut butter and had a 15 hooker gangbang. I'd love to know the mechanics of that. Not because I want to see that, but let's cover yourself in peanut butter and have a 15 hooker gangbang. All right. Yeah, that's just very um it's just a funny line. So the climax is actually pretty intense, and I didn't remember it being like that. It's funny. I've seen Saw, multiple times, like I said, and every now and again I'll like when I'll watch it, it's because I haven't seen it for a while, or like in this case I want to do a review. And I always forget how intense the climax is. Like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, like, oh man, And I don't think people give it enough credit for that, because I mean, or maybe that's why they, consider it such a good horror film. Maybe the climax is part of it. But yeah, I always forget about it, and then I'm watching it again, and I get all goosebumps on my seat and freaking out and whatnot. But yeah, it's intense. And then, the other thing, spoilers again for people that, but the one, so at the end of the film, when we find out what's going on, and Larry, so the whole climax is intense. The whole climax is intense. So everything's going on, and then um, Carrie Elways is just had enough. He's been in there for, he's done with it. He needs to find his wife and daughter and all this, and he just starts, cutting through his leg. That is where the madness intensifies. So that's going on. Lee Whannell is screaming the whole time. It's just uncomfortable. Not like an annoying level. It's just an uncomfortable, like, oh, like I genuinely got chills thinking about it. That's going on. The music's going on. We find out, this was after Zepp had come in and basically just did his thing. It's just a lot of stuff's going on. It's very intense. It's very scary, very nerve wracking, and that's the way to do a proper climax. I don't care if it's an action film, a horror film, or what, but man, that's yes. But so when we find out that spoilers again, that Jigsaw he's the one that's laying down in the thing, preparing to have had a died by suicide, gunshot to the head. He is when he Adam is just screaming this whole time. When he finds out all of this going on, and after Larry cuts his foot off, and then the look that he gives Jigsaw when he's like, the key to your shackles is in that bathtub. And if you remember, he wakes up and it goes down the drain. We don't know what it is. We just know something went down the drain. So he has been screwed from the very beginning. And when he says that, and the look that Lee Whannell gives him is just horror, pure horror. And you know, as I'm saying this out loud and as I'm thinking of it, I definitely see why so many people consider this such a new Halloween classic. I mean, we're talking, it was released, 16 years ago, but I mean, I definitely can see why, because it actually, I know that later on in the franchise, the series just gets very bloody and gutty, and that's what we look at it at now. But I'm glad that I did this one, because I got to rewatch it again, and I actually got to look at it for the horror film that it really is. And James Wan and Lee Whannell are just so great at their craft. They know what to do. Even the ones that are misses, like what's the one about the dolls? Anyway, they're not horrible, because it's just, it's a swing and a miss. It's not just like a, oh my god, this is terrible, because it's terrible. It's like, no, they tried to do something. Deadly Silence. But it just didn't work out, unfortunately. But with Saw, it 100% works out. Insidious, I did that one too. They did the same people for that. Um, the Conjuring universe. I mean, they've really just done so much for the horror community, really, and it's a great thing, because I really think that they're two of James Wan and Lee Whannell specifically and with Saw specifically, I think is a very good pioneering effort, because I don't think people took the horror genre that serious. No one really has for a long time ever, and still people don't. So don't get me wrong, it's not like we're the best in the world or anything, but I think that Saw really helped jump a new era of fans to the horror level. And like I said, I can see why. It really is just done well. And um, I mean, for such a small, could have, been just a junk student film, basically. It's a really good, um, it is really good. So I definitely recommend it. I have it on DVD, so I actually didn't look up where it's going to be coming on, but it's Halloween time, so I'm sure it's going to be, check it out if you can, and try to watch if you can, try to not. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with catching it on TV if you haven't seen it before, but try to catch it on like DVD or something, because even with this one, there's not as much blood and guts in it. So if that's something that bothers you, I understand that, but it's not as bad in this one. It's a little more realistic violence, because I think the rest of them, even though they do look realistic, it's a lot more about just getting the kills in. This one, there are traps and there is blood and gore, but it's not. It doesn't distract from the plot of the film, and I think that's one great thing about it. And I just really think that we're looking. I mean, like I said, it's what's like I said, 16 years, and it's still being talked about, not just by me, by everybody. And I just think it's a Halloween classic at this point. I really do. I don't know what the timeline is to be a classic, but I think that it sent people running for their money when it first came out, and I think it really changed the genre of horror. And now, yes, of course it did, because of the torture porn aspect later, but I think this film, like I said, I think this is just a classic horror film, and I definitely recommend it. Um, but yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Sorry I spaced out there for a second. But no, Horror Month is slowly wrapping up, unfortunately, but I'm still going to pop out some videos, guys, so keep checking me out. Like and subscribe, tell your friends, share me, whatever. And I'll be back with another review soon, and then pretty soon I'll be explaining what my next month's going to be. Actually, I don't even know if there's a theme for it, but it'll be cool. It'll be fun. Alrighty, guys. Thanks a lot. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you next time. Later.